It's about time with Rashawn's About Time Boxing, aka Mr. Trill 100 Mil. What's up to my About Time Boxing family and the Trill 100 Mil gang? Thank you to every single one of y'all who has been taking out the time to watch the videos, like the videos, share the videos, and leave the comments. If you have not already subscribed to the channel and you're watching this video or any of my videos for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. Encourage others to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification button to stay up on the latest with Rashawn's About Time Boxing. For all of the channels that I rock with, you know what I mean, they'll be in the description box below, so please check the description box and subscribe to those channels. Shout out to my Uncle Shabazz for rocking with the channel, supporting me, you know what I mean. Shout out to the whole Wayne Ave, Uptown, Philly. Appreciate y'all. All right, so we're gonna get into this Teofimo Lopez, because I actually wasn't going to do a video about the fight, but you know, somebody asked me to, so I'm doing it. I'm putting it up. But anyway, so Teofimo Lopez versus a journeyman named Pedro Campa. Pedro Campa is a journeyman. This was like one of his first fights over here in the States. He hasn't really fought, you know, all his fights is like over in like Mexico, you know, something like that. But I think he's like 34-2 now, with 23 knockouts and 1 draw. He fought somebody named he had a split decision draw with somebody named what's it? Abner Lopez, no relation to Teofimo, and he was actually knocked out when, let's say, I want to say it was in 2017, I think October of 2017, by somebody named Carlos Jimenez, I think. Y'all can check the stats, I don't know. I think October 2017 he was knocked out. That was his first KO loss. So he has 2 losses now, second one to Teofimo Lopez. And of course we got Teo 17-1 with 13 knockouts now, coming off of his loss to George Kambosos, who he lost the unified lightweight titles to. Unified, not undisputed, unified. Okay, but now, so Teofimo Lopez, the biggest names on his resume still too, and he still doesn't have 20 professional fights. Biggest names on his resume still is Lomachenko is the biggest, George Kambosos is the next, and then Richard Comey. Still the biggest names. And then he put on, I mean, like I said, you got to give credit where credit is due, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and hopefully what everybody knew he would do against Pedro Campa. Pedro Campa was actually supposed to be an opponent for Adrian Broner a few years ago, when Adrian Broner was making his comeback, and he was announcing that he was going to be fighting at 140. Pedro Campa was one of the names that they mentioned. Michelle Rivera was another name that they mentioned. But anyway, Teofimo Lopez put on an excellent skill, you know what I mean, well-rounded. He did everything in that fight right against Pedro Campa. Now that Teofimo Lopez is the one who beat Lomachenko, and it's that Teofimo Lopez that stopped Pedro Campa. Pedro Campa is that Teofimo Lopez that George Kambosos would not have beaten. He wouldn't have beat that Teofimo Lopez. And that Teofimo Lopez is the Teo that he needs to strive to be all of the time. Sometimes he gets a little wild with his shots and, you know, throw the looping shots, you know, and all that. But when he fought Pedro Campa, and when you fighting all right, I'm going to put it to you like this. When you got the type of skill set that Teofimo Lopez had, and you fighting somebody, a journeyman, somebody like Pedro Campa, you're supposed to make him look like that. You're supposed to make him look like that. He made Pedro Campos look like he didn't belong in the ring with him. You know what I'm saying? But still, Teo still has to, in my opinion, he has to fight those bigger fights. He gotta, he gotta fight the, I would love to see him fight Regis Prograis. I would love to see him fight Adrian Broner at 140. You know what I'm saying? Josh Taylor. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of fights out there for him at 140. It's a lot of fights out there for him at 140. And he won a NABF Intercontinental and the WBO Intercontinental title. It's funny how these guys can just win all these belts and still, Jaron Ennis still don't have an interim, an intercontinental, or he don't have no type of continental, intercontinental, interim welterweight title at all. Virgil Ortiz do, but Boots don't. But that's another video. But like I said, Teofimo Lopez put on an excellent skill. He boxed beautifully. Everything, he did everything right. Offensively, defensively, he did everything right. He neutralized Pedro Campa. He took everything, which is really not that much that Pedro Campa really does well, but he took it all away. And he controlled the entire fight. And the only round that he took off that people may have given Pedro Campa was the fifth round. When I was watching the fight, the whole fight, I'm looking at the fight, and then that fifth round came, I'm like, oh, he's taking that round off. He just took the round off, but he was having fun in there. You could tell he was having fun. He looked healthy. He looked strong. You know what I mean? He was patient. He picked his shots. He counter-punched perfectly. He didn't, you know what I mean? It was like he didn't rush, like maybe once or twice I seen him, throw a loop in, left and right, you know what I mean? But still, he was well aware and in control of everything that he was doing the entire time, which means he was in control of the entire fight. The entire fight. Pedro Campa was not in that fight from bell one. From bell one. And I think Teo landed like at 32%, you know what I mean, of his jabs, and Campa was like 10% or something like that. You know what I mean? I mean, just to show you that Teo was in control of the fight, you got to think about it now. Like, Campa threw like 200 and, oh gosh, what was it? I was looking at the stats. He threw 244 power punches, and he only landed 63. I think Teo threw like 162, 164, and landed like 86 or something like that. Something like that. Y'all can look up the stats. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if y'all look at the stats just goes to show you that Teofimo Lopez was in control of that fight all the time. Now, that Teofimo Lopez that fought Pedro Campa, that's the Teofimo Lopez that needs to step in the ring against the higher opposition and show that he can beat these guys. Because if that's the case, you're going to fight a bunch of journeymen, and people are always going to be expecting you to look like that against them. But it's just funny how, and again, I love the way Teofimo boxed. I love the show he put on. It was beautiful, beautiful. But everybody pat him on the back, congratulate him about it. Jaron Ennis do the same thing, and people still talking about, oh, well, he ain't been tested. He got to fight this person, got to fight that person. Teo knocked out Richard Comey in 2 rounds. Lomachenko went the distance with him, and they talking about he's back. They talking about Loma's back. So, I mean, listen, like I said, I always give credit where credit is due. If you put on a beautiful display, a beautiful show, then I'm gonna make it known. I don't take even fighters that, you know what I mean, that I don't like. If they good, I don't take anything away from them. Because if you're good, you're good. But there's a difference between being good and great. And Teofimo Lopez, I would say he has the ability to be great, but it all depends on who he fights. Because some people, saying that he went up to 140 to avoid having to fight Devin Haney or Gervonta Davis, even though Tank could go up to 140. He went up to 140 to fight Barrios, and we saw how that played out. But when he lost to Kambosos, all of these other things came out later that he was having, like trouble making the weight and this, that, and the third and all that. And maybe he was, because he was big for a lightweight anyway. He's big for a lightweight. And Campos is kind of big for a junior welterweight. Campos could really fight at 47, but them guys are dead, man. They'll swallow him up. He wouldn't survive at 147. He wouldn't survive at 147. But Teofimo Lopez, he's going to have to fight these guys like Regis Prograis. And Regis Prograis is another guy who I think is underrated and is not on a lot of people's radar, but he's one of the best and most skilled southpaws at 140 that's in the game right now. Yeah, he lost to Josh Taylor, but he wants that fight again, and I don't think Josh Taylor wants that fight. But Regis Prograis is an animal. He's a beast. He got plenty of heart. He's not scared of nobody. But like I said, I would love to see Teofimo against those guys, against Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, even an Adrian Broner. Then you got Michelle Rivera, who's out there at 142. He's another one. Michelle Rivera's another one. Like, he got, Teo got to fight these guys. These are the guys he got to fight. But the boxing world, some of these analysts and stuff, they let certain fighters get by, on building the name off of fighting a bunch of journeymen. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, Gary Russell Jr. No disrespect to him and his talent. I think he's one of the most talented fighters out there. But he was comfortable and complacent with fighting his mandatories all the time. All the time. But claiming he wanted to fight guys like Tank and Devin and all these other guys. If you want to fight somebody at a certain weight, then you want to start campaigning at that weight. That's why, even though a lot of people felt like that he beat the Filipino guy, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but the Filipino guy who beat Gary Russell Jr. But a lot of people felt like they did that, you know what I mean, because he was, complacent, was just sitting on that WBC featherweight title, and really wasn't trying to campaign at 130 or 35 like he claimed he wanted to fight those guys. He claimed he wanted to go up and fight them guys, but he didn't take one fight at that weight. He would have still had that belt. Didn't matter. But, like I said, some people can get by with building a reputation off of fighting journeymen. And your mandatories can come in the form of journeymen. But if you really, striving or daring to be great, there's certain risks that you have to take in this game. Certain risks that you have to take. And I feel like Teofimo Lopez has the skill to take those risks. But the question is do he believe in himself the way that he say? Is he as confident in himself the way that he projects into the public? Because when he got those belts, y'all see what he did when he won the belts from Loma. And then his first defense of the belts, finally, he went back and forth with that whole thing because he didn't want to fight Devin because he thought Kambosos was an easier fight. Then he tried to pull out of that fight, but then he ended up losing. So, at 140, I guess we just gonna have to stay tuned and see, what Teofimo Lopez, what his plans are at 140. But there's a lot of competition out there for him at 140, and like I said, I would love to see him fight Regis Prograis, or if Broner can get himself right, Broner, Josh Taylor, Michelle Rivera, a few other guys out there at 140 that he can actually fight, and they will be good fights, you know. But and so, like I said, nonetheless, you know, Teofimo Lopez put on a beautiful show. You know, he won every round, even the round he took off, he won. You know what I mean? And then he caught him with that, and then he caught Pedro Campa with that 1-2 up jab, that, you know what I mean, knockdown, boom. Then he finished him off. You know, had his eyes swelling up from his jab, pumping his jab, his combinations, he was clicking. Listen, Teofimo Lopez was clicking on all cylinders in that fight. And that's why I said that Teofimo Lopez, Kambosos wouldn't have beat. And that's the Teofimo Lopez that beat Lomachenko. But can that Teofimo Lopez compete at a high level at 140? Because the competition is stiffer, I think, at 140. Competition is stiffer. But that remains to be seen. But, you know, like I said, I just wanted to do this video about Teofimo Lopez versus George Campa. These are my thoughts, you know what I mean, my analysis, if you want to call it that. But like I said, I felt like he put on a beautiful display. He controlled every round. He controlled the entire fight, every round of the entire fight. Pedro Campa was never in the fight at all. He was never in the fight. Never in the fight. And this was Teo's first fight at 140. So usually when people move up, they don't usually, you know, pick somebody with a real big name, but somebody whose credibility on paper looks good. You see what I'm saying? Like, Campa is, you know, like I said, he's 34 and 2 with 23 knockouts, 1 draw. So on paper, you know, 23 knockouts, all that type of, you know what I mean? So all that stuff, like, okay, he should be good. But everybody know, if you know boxing, you know that he's a journeyman. And, you know, most of the people, all of his fights were over, like, in Mexico. He never fought over here in the States. This is like his first or maybe second time fighting in the States. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think, how y'all feel about the Teofimo Lopez Pedro Campa fight, and how do y'all think Teofimo Lopez is going to do at 140, and who would y'all like to see him fight at 140? That's all I got for now. Appreciate y'all watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and don't forget to hit that notification button.